Hello, welcome to Passionate Mom, a podcast by three Vietnamese college students trying to navigate adulthood through the scope of both our Vietnamese and American cultures. We're just here to chat and share our lives with you. How are y'all doing this week?
I'm stressing. I have a farm test next Wednesday. But you know,
I feel it. It's only the second week and I have so much to read.
Yeah, I'm very behind on my readings.
Maybe.
I'm like 2 weeks behind.
I'm behind on lectures.
For one of my English
I
class.
gotta watch my lectures, yo.
But yeah, I'm also fully vaccinated. Woo!
Nice.
And
2 out of 3
too.
of Passionate Mom is fully vaccinated.
And Zui will be fully
I'm the last one,
vaccinated soon. Yeah,
On the 20th
welcome.
of April.
Welcome back, everyone. This week we're talking about the age-old trivial argument, STEM versus humanities. Why do we like to study what we study, and what is it like studying the fields that we do? What do we wish we could do in the opposite field? If you didn't already know, Cindy and Z are STEM-based, with Cindy in nursing and Z in psych. Well, Cindy's a little bit in between because she has a lot of STEM, but she also has like focuses and like some social sciences too. And Z has like a secondary social science major. But I am what you would call a humanities major, aka art and the social sciences, because I focus on English and LSJ, aka law, societies, justice. So we'll start off with why we like our respective fields. Z, take it away.
Me? Okay. Well, technically, I'm gonna be in both majors or both fields because being a psych major, it's mostly like kind of this is a STEM major, but I'm also going to be getting a degree in American ethnic studies, so that's my humanities part of it. So I will be kind of doing both, but I chose psych. Well, actually, I just chose these both. I like both fields, being that like STEM is like, what is it? You get to you get to learn like the theories and like all the how everything works basically, you know, because like STEM is the science and like it's very quantitative, if you know what I mean. Like you get to quantify things and then actually understand how this and that works. But I think the humanity side of it also is like understanding how human interaction and like how we interact with each other, you know, because that's why I chose the American ethnic studies, because I'm really interested in like the history of the ethnic culture and the background that kind of like came here, you know. So
Cindy, how about for you? What's it like being a nursing student?
Well, first off, when I was researching about whether nursing is a STEM or a humanities major, I found out that it's kind of in between, which makes sense because as a nursing student, you're expected to have a pretty sciencey base or background to work up to while you go through the years of nursing. So I had to study biology, some classes in biology, anatomy and physiology, microbiome. I had to know a little bit of psychology, which kind of like, so we mentioned, it kind of dips into both. And as I move on, I kind of get to learn more specifically about different populations. Right now I'm doing older adults, and I think in the future I'll work with like pediatrics or mental health, or kind of like areas like that where they involve kind of like social research and stuff. And I think that's where it kind of shifts from STEM to humanities, and there's like a little bit of controversy of where they can end up. But I really wanted to pursue that kind of middle ground field, because I feel like it can be really daunting if you're not studying in a field such as nursing, to other people who are receiving healthcare. And I kind of want to be that bridge in between, like, the general public and the system, and kind of work with both parts of the society to build each other up and make it into something that can be better. So that's my spiel. How about you, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Why are you going into humanities and such?
Well, I just like learning about people and like why we are the way we are. And that sounds like approaching psychology, but I don't want to go I'm not into like the whole psychological aspect. I'm into like the philosophical part of it and like the historical part, and I just really like studying how social structures affect people. And like for English, I am studying it because I really love speaking of English, I cannot speak. I really love the English language, and from like how grammar works to how literature is understood and becomes a result of society, and also how society becomes a result of literature, and how like there's a cause and effect between both of them. And with my LSJ major, cross my fingers I get it next quarter, I am interested not only in law, but also like current events and history and how institutions have had an impact on certain communities. And I just really love learning about people and society, and it makes me happy. And I also can't do math or science. Okay, I can do math, as I think we've gone over how much I suck at science. So I'm also not interested in any of that. I want to be able to help people directly. I want to be able to interact with them, and while I think it's really cool, like people who do research and who work in like, I don't know, technology and stuff, I think that's really cool. I really want to be working like one-on-one with people, like Cindy, with you in nursing. That's just something that I really want to do. Yeah. Moving on, I think it would be cool to talk about what it's like studying what we do. This includes like the differences and similarities in class structure, the people in our fields, study schedules, types of assignments, all that. So Cindy, how about you start us off?
Well, our class structure in nursing school is always going to be lecture based. This is pretty heavy lecture based, and at least at SU, a lot of professors expect you to do most of the prep work beforehand, so that you know most and all of the material, and then class time is usually just applying and reiterating that information. And it's also pretty hands-on based learning. Once you start working in clinical settings, because then you can, again, apply what you learned from your prep work and lecture and actually work with patients and such. So it's kind of versatile if you think about it that way. And then I think with both of those classes, both lecture and clinical based classes, you'll still be expected to do exams, which are usually recall based. Which is really important because you're even as a nurse, if you'll have resources available to you while you're doing your career. Nursing school kind of still expects you to just know a bunch of information already without having to refer to anything. And and going back into the prep work I was talking about, I heard that every credit you take in school, you should dedicate a minimum of 2 to 3 hours per credit. So I'm taking 15 credits right now, and that means 45 hours a week outside of lecture. How about you guys? How many credits are you guys taking right now?
I'm currently taking 15.
I'm taking 21 right now.
Okay, so that means 45 hours for you too.
Yeah.
Oh my
And then
gosh!
she's doing 21, so 66.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when I say I have a lot of
Wow.
reading, I have a
But
lot
are
of
we
reading.
really dedicating that much time in our classes?
No.
Let's we don't talk about that.
Yeah, how about you, Z? How are your classes structured?
For my STEM based one, because I'm taking 2 psych classes right now, it's pretty similar, where you have to like read the textbook, kind of understand understand the material before coming to class, and then class time is mostly like kind of like a review type of thing. I mean, we're still like, if you haven't read the textbook, there's still a lot of information that you'll learn in lecture, but if you've already read the textbook, then it's like a little bit of a review and a refresher and a time to get in more depth of the material, and then asking questions towards the professor. And then I'd say towards my humanities based class, which is currently taking a I think it was Hawaii's literature, or so like history of Hawaii right now. So it's it has a lot of information about like how Hawaii was what is it? Who inhabited Hawaii? What's happened so far in the last like 100, 200 years and such, and then like point of view from say natives, their point of view on people coming into their land, and then point of view of people settling in there's a lot of stuff, but it's basically just reading and then kind of like discussing about it, not necessarily like memorizing like information. It's more of like understanding why this happened, or like understanding point of views of other people, pretty much. So that's like the humanities base, and so but the STEM base is very similar to like how Cindy has her what is it, her nursing stuff, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. My classes are also pretty lecture based and discussion based, especially like a lot of discussion, because like especially for my English classes, we talk a lot about our readings. And this quarter is really cool because both of my English professors, because I'm taking 2 English classes, they both do like small breakout groups every class day. So it's nice that I get to interact with other students, and we all are like pretty interested in what we do, so that's fun. But yeah, I mean, with English, it's just like writing styles, and like there's different perspectives for analysis. And with LHJ, it's like it's cool because we get to understand people's personal backgrounds and why they believe what they believe. Also, because I don't know, I feel like for humanities students, we are trying to be social right now, and we don't like want to feel left out. So we keep our cameras on. At least most of us keep our cameras on during class, and at least during like breakout rooms. How about you guys?
Breakout rooms? I feel like people in my breakout rooms are pretty active. Like they'll turn their cameras on, and then we'll kind of just speed through as fast as we can, to be honest. So then we can like use whatever remaining time we have in the breakout rooms as a break, because sometimes we don't get breaks.
Yeah. So you were shaking your head there.
I think it definitely varies like with who you get. Yeah, it definitely varies with like who you get put into a room with. So like currently, so one of my psych classes, we had to be put into like discussion groups, and we're kind of stuck with these people for the rest of the quarter. But it's not but it's not that bad, because I was put into a group. It's like right now we haven't turned our cameras on as much, but we're actually willing to talk. So like if we unmute, we'll actually say stuff, and then we'll actually talk to each other about the material. So it's not that bad. But like in other classes that I've experienced, for sure, it's like you go into the group and then it's like nobody says anything, or like cameras are off, you know. But like you said, in the humanities base, I think everyone's more open to being social. So it's actually weird because my humanities class I'm taking right now, it's not over Zoom. Well, it is on Zoom, but it's messaging based Zoom. Like, we're not video calling. What he does is he introduces the material through text messages. Because he's what he believes is like, it's kind of overwhelming when you're in like a video call. You don't want to be like overwhelmed by everybody there and such, right? It's kind of boring sometimes when you're just listening to his voice, right? So what he does is he makes it so it's a little bit easier. So I think he pre-types everything, and then he just like copies and pastes it onto the thing. But it's like a guiding sequence of messages, so that you kind of like understand, and you also get to go into your other breakout room or message groups with your discussion groups, and then you kind of message in there. So it's a little bit more inclusive, I think, that way, so that everyone gets a chance to talk to each other a lot more, and then you can even go into the big group message and then like talk to each other. So I guess you could say like the humanities base is more social.
Yeah, that's really interesting,
Yeah.
actually, because in my, like, especially my nursing classes, all my professors are like, cameras are required to be turned on, participation is also highly required. Like, they're not afraid to knock you down points for participation and talking in class.
Dang, that's stiff.
Yeah, so I feel like whenever someone talks sometimes, it's forced, and they're kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I guess with a texting-based class, people would be a little bit less shy, which is really interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
How do you guys like the people in your field? Because, like, for me, I love the people in my classes. UW in general can get kind of competitive, and my second intended major is capacity constrained. So, like, there's always, like, that kind of, like, underlying element where, like, other freshmen or sophomores are, like, trying to get into. It's, like, there's a little bit of that air of, like, also arrogance. But, also, like, regardless, my classmates, even these, like, these last two semesters, they've really opened my eyes and mind a lot to various social issues, and I'm grateful for what they taught me, because I've learned a lot about like community organizing and inclusivity, and like I have learned a lot about issues that I would have never thought about before, especially with like incarcerated individuals and those who are experiencing houselessness. And it's just really cool to learn about it from them, because they are really cool people, and they've been more active with all of that than I have. But yeah, what do you guys like think about the people?
Yeah, I feel like for me, because at SU, you are either in the nursing program or you're not. There's a no pre-nursing program. It's all direct. So people aren't really competing for that spot in SU, right? So I feel like all the people in my class are very, very friendly. Everyone's willing to help each other out and stuff, especially during this time of the pandemic, because nursing is just so hard, to say the least, online, I feel like there's this notion of people might get competitive in terms of competing for hospitals in the area. But I haven't really experienced that yet. But in general, I feel like the nursing program has really helped me open out of my shell, because I think a lot of people are just like effortlessly them, and they're not afraid to be themselves and stuff.
Oh, I like that. Being like effortlessly being yourself, Yeah. I think like what you said about that is like where once you get into your major, everyone's like already focused on that set major, and therefore it's easier for you to kind of learn from each other. So that it's, what is it? Being that you guys are going to focus on the same thing, you guys start to ask questions about like a deeper level of questions that you wouldn't really get from surface level type of people, right? If you take like regular classes and you're kind of put into that class with like people who just need the class for the credit or something like that, right? They're not necessarily gonna ask like really deep questions. They would just ask like surface level, like why is the sun yellow or something like that. or I don't know, right? Just something really basic, and then but once you get into like your set major, let's say like going into the psychology, right? We're talking about the brain. People start asking questions of like, what effects do the amygdala do to your body as it gets forced with tension or something like that? You know, something based on the like a deeper level of understanding that only I guess the people in your field can question, you know.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
How is studying like for you guys? Because like for me, I don't really need to study for hours on end because I don't have a lot of exams. I mainly just have like projects and papers, but I do get a lot of readings. Like I get like an hour to two readings, like an hour to two of readings per class, like a night, and then I have like writing assignments, which like I don't hate. It's just a lot to like keep up with because like I suck at time management. But I know it could be slightly different for you guys.
I mean, for me, I think I'm more similar to you though, because psychology is more like a social science, and therefore, like certain classes that I'm taking right now aren't necessarily the hands-on, what is it, like research or anything like that yet. And so what I'm doing is also like reading and like studying for projects and such. And so it's not really like the hands-on type of stuff yet, I guess.
Yeah. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna go over what my study schedule is like because it works for me. I'm not sure if every nursing student studies the same way I do, but it makes most sense to me based on like my expectations for my classes. So with the prep work, I've had professors who've recorded themselves going over the lecture slides, and then so I'll watch those and take notes directly on the lecture slides. Then I'll go to my textbook and I'll write out all the sections, like the little subheadings of the pages I'm assigned to read, and then go back and using the study guide questions I'm given in class to like focus my learning or focus my prep work, and then I'll go to lecture and take notes on lecture, and then I'll rewrite those notes and reorganize them into like concept maps, because in nursing school you're kind of like given a bunch of stuff to know, but then on the exam you're expected to use that information and like link them together through the process of critical thinking. Exactly. Yeah. And then like test it on that. So that's why I have to do the things that I do, which is really annoying. And that's why I don't have a social life right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. But yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a handful, yeah.
Going off of study schedules and stuff, just wanted to quickly ask you guys, how are you assessed in your classes? Maybe Jasmine, you can go into, because you talked about how you're assigned lots and lots of readings, usually to prep and interact with in class, but how are you usually assessed?
For me, for my classes, like based off of my readings and stuff, I'll get journals to do. I'll get like reading journals or like discussion posts to do. So all of the classes except for my English Lit Victorian Age class, we have reading journals that we have to do. Like I have one to finish after right now. That's 500 words. So that's like how we get assessed weekly. And also like a lot is participation. And but like in terms of what's our equivalent of exams, I get a lot of papers. I get like 2 to 3 papers each class per quarter. I guess that's not a lot, but yeah, ours is mainly like paper based.
Yeah, and I kind of relate to that because of the humanity class that I'm taking. It's what is it? He does this thing called a course diary, and it's basically where you just accumulate all your responses to discussion posts, and then you just kind of organize it so it's easy to, to find and such. So most of the bulk of the class is discussion based. So every week it's like read the material and then discuss in discussion boards with your other teammates and such like that. And so that's the humanities part of it. But the STEM part of it, with the psychology, it's like reading all the material, and then we have quizzes. So it gets quizzed on the material that we've kind of learned. And then I also have a project. I think I have a few projects that I have to do in my two psych classes. So that's like, it kind of relates to, I think Cindy, would you do something like that, right?
Yeah, so I'm usually assessed based on exams. Some classes will require quizzes to assess your understanding and have it added towards the total grade. But it's usually like, recall based, I would say, which kind of helps you prepare for exams. But again, exams are more like application, combining those concepts together,
For sure, yeah.
But either way, there's a lot of memorization involved, I feel like. Yeah.
I don't know how you guys can, even remotely study STEM. I don't know how you can even touch that. But I absolutely love the humanities. I've always been jealous of anyone who can excel in this math and sciences, though. So, what kind of skills do you guys wish you could have from another field?
For me, I guess, improving my writing skills. At SU, we're required to take U-Cores, which are kind of like electives, but they're more thought-provoking, and they exercise discussion quite a bit, discussion-based, and sometimes we do papers and stuff, which is kind of like a similar flavor, essentially, to the humanities classes that you guys are taking. But I really, really suck at writing papers or trying to write them, because I'll usually write them the night before. So I'll have to pull an all-nighter gathering resources and then trying to write it out. And I don't edit my papers at all. I don't. I actually heard my friend, one of my other nursing friends, she actually types into Google Translate or whatever and has it read back to her, so then she can hear if there are mistakes, and then she'll quickly fix it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so smart and not very demanding to go back ahead and read it and stuff. And I have not improved that system at all. Sometimes a week before it's due, I'm like, oh, maybe I should write a little outline or something.
You act as if it's unique to you, because I definitely still do that.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I edit while I'm writing. So I'll because I use Docs, Google Docs, I make comments to myself to let myself know where I need to go back to. And then after I finish writing it, I'll go back and make those edits, and then that's how much I write. Unless I have a class that is turn in a draft, and then turn in a final. If it's just turn in the paper, then I write it in one sitting, and I edit it after I finish it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. How about you, Sui? What do you wish you could improve with, or learn about?
Improve with? Probably also the English portion of it, because I mean, growing up, I never was really good at the English writings and all that stuff. I think that was the only classes in high school that I kind of did bad on, was the English portions. All the other STEM portions were really well, right? And I'm honestly surprised at myself that I'm actually going to degree in a humanities field. So, but I think that's one thing I want to get better at is English writing and such.
I mean, I wish I could understand the appeal for science. Like, and I just kind of wish I could understand science in general. I mean, I'm not bad with math. It's just I would like to learn more about like natural sciences and like technology, because I think engineering and computer science are so prevalent today. And like obviously, as a liberal arts student, I think everything is important. But I would just like to learn more about like not those technical parts of science. Yeah, I can't. I suck with science, and science does not get along with me. But we talk about this a lot among ourselves and our friends, so we thought it would be fun to share our thoughts with you. Obviously, we believe both are essential for the world and our humanity, and we couldn't succeed without either. But nonetheless, it's a fun debate to have.
Yeah, and if you guys want to listen more about our majors and how it's contributing to our future careers, you can check out our third episode, episode 3, Future Careers, on all of our platforms. And if you want to hear about how we're surviving in our majors during online learning, be sure to check out our first episode on online learning. But again, thank you all for listening to us talk about what it's like to be in STEM versus the humanities and in the between. And let us know what your favorite fields are and your stance on the matter, and perhaps what you're studying right now. And you can talk to us through the YouTube comments below or on our Instagram. And thanks for joining, and don't forget to tune in next Friday for our next podcast.
Yeah, our podcast is on YouTube and Spotify, so you can find all of our episodes and such on there. And then you can also follow us at Pass the Nukmam on Instagram, so you guys can follow along with our podcast updates. And yeah, so we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey guys, it's Cindy here to talk to you all about our charity of the week. As you may have heard, India has been significantly impacted by the pandemic with overwhelmed hospital settings and drastic death rates. They need some great help for their road to recovery. Global Giving works to provide international support, and they have a COVID-19 relief fund set up for India. So please consider donating to help India overcome this drastic surge by checking out the link in the description below. Thanks for your time, guys. We'll see you again soon.